The silent invasion. The first signs appeared quietly, like shadows creeping across sunlit ground. In hospitals across the world, doctors began noticing a pattern that defied medical explanation. Patients arrived with complaints of mental fog, memory lapses, and difficulty concentrating. Brain scans showed nothing unusual, yet the symptoms persisted and worsened. Dr. Maya Chen stood in her laboratory at the Johns Hopkins Neural Research Center, studying the latest batch of test results. Something was systematically attacking human cognitive function, but conventional diagnostics found nothing. She adjusted her electron microscope, examining cerebral fluid samples from affected patients for the 100th time. Then she saw them. Tiny geometric structures, smaller than viruses, moved with purpose through the neural fluid. They weren't biological. Their crystalline edges caught the light in ways that made her eyes water. Maya increased magnification and watched as these machines disassembled and rebuilt themselves, adapting to every chemical she introduced. Her hands shook as she recorded the footage. These weren't natural. Someone had engineered these nanomachines to infiltrate human brains undetected. Across the Pacific, Commander Jake Mason rappelled down a Martian cliff face, his team following close behind. The mission briefing had been vague. Investigate anomalous energy readings near Olympus Mons. What they found changed everything. Hidden beneath layers of ancient Martian dust, a facility hummed with alien technology. Holographic displays floated in the thin atmosphere, showing Earth surrounded by a sickly green web. Population counters ticked downward with mechanical precision. Mason approached the central console, his helmet camera recording everything. The moment he touched the interface, crystalline shards erupted from the panel. One pierced his suit, embedding in his shoulder before his emergency seals activated. Pain exploded through his nervous system, but with it came understanding. Alien thoughts flooded his mind. Cold calculations, extinction protocols, the systematic elimination of 17 civilizations before Earth. The Krill Empire had perfected silent genocide, leaving planets intact while erasing their dominant species. Dr. Chen received the encrypted transmission at 3 in the morning. Military channels she didn't know existed activated on her secure terminal. The message was brief. Your expertise required immediately. Transport waiting. Bring all research on anomalous neural samples. The helicopter landed on the roof 10 minutes later. Chen clutched her data drives as armed escorts led her aboard. They flew through the night to a facility she'd never seen on any map. General Patricia Hayes met her at the landing pad. The woman's face showed the strain of sleepless nights and impossible decisions. Dr. Chen, what you've discovered matches what we found on Mars. We're under attack, and we need solutions. In the underground briefing room, Chen met Commander Mason for the first time. The tall soldier's eyes held a haunted quality, and she noticed him occasionally flinch at sounds others couldn't hear. The shard is still in my shoulder, Mason explained when she asked about his condition. Too close to my spine to remove safely, but it's given me a connection to their network. I can sense their communications, understand fragments of their language. Chen studied his medical scans with professional fascination. The alien crystal had integrated with his nervous system, creating new neural pathways. The nanomachines in our victims' brains appear to be receivers. Your crystal fragment acts as a transmitter. Together, they form a control network. General Hayes leaned forward. Control for what? Population management. Mason answered before Chen could speak. The Krill don't wage war as we understand it. They engineer extinction events. The nanomachines reduce fertility, degrade cognitive function, increase suicide rates. Within 3 generations, a species simply ceases to exist. Chen pulled up her research on the main screen. I've identified the nanomachines' basic functions. They're remarkably sophisticated, but they have a weakness. Extreme emotional states create quantum interference in their communication protocols. Emotional states, Hayes asked skeptically. Joy, rage, grief, love, intense feelings disrupt their calculations. The krill engineered emotion out of their species millennia ago. They can't process or defend against what they don't understand. Mason stood suddenly, his face pale. They know we've discovered them. I can feel their attention shifting. Ships are changing course. He grabbed the table for support as alien mathematics flooded his awareness. We have less than 90 days before their fleet arrives. Hayes activated the Global Defense Network with a series of rapid commands. Then we'd better learn to weaponize human emotion. Dr. Chen, you're now Director of Project Awakening. Commander Mason, you'll liaison with our military forces. We're about to fight a war unlike anything in human history. As alarms began sounding throughout the facility, Chen looked at the data streaming across her screens. 6 billion humans already carried the alien nanomachines. Fertility rates had dropped 30% globally. Suicide rates among scientists and military leaders showed suspicious spikes. The krill had been patient, methodical, nearly successful, but they'd made one critical error. They'd underestimated humanity's capacity for emotion. And that, Chen realized as she began planning humanity's counterattack, would be their downfall. Outside, the first reports arrived of people worldwide experiencing strange phenomena. A mother's grief over her infected child manifested as visible energy. A soldier's rage at losing his unit created localized electromagnetic disturbances. Love between partners generated quantum field fluctuations. The awakening had begun. Humanity's greatest weakness, their uncontrolled emotions, was becoming their ultimate weapon. The silent invasion had failed to account for the one thing that made humans unique in the galaxy: their ability to feel with intensity that defied physics itself. As Commander Mason connected deeper with the alien network, he sensed confusion spreading through krill communications. For the first time in their empire's history, a target species was not just resisting. They were evolving in response to the attack. Dr. Chen worked through the night, developing protocols to trigger controlled emotional responses. If they could harness and direct human feelings, they might have a chance when the krill fleet arrived. The war for humanity's survival had begun, and Earth's defenders would meet their enemy not with conventional weapons, but with the power of human emotion itself. In space, the first krill scouts detected the anomaly spreading across Earth's surface. Quantum fluctuations that shouldn't exist, energy patterns that defied their understanding. For the first time in eons, the Empire's calculated extinction protocol faced something it couldn't predict or control. The age of silent invasion was ending. The age of awakened humanity had begun. The Awakening War. 3 months after the discovery, Earth had transformed into a battleground of consciousness. The Beijing Awakening Center sprawled across former Olympic facilities, where thousands of volunteers learned to channel their emotions into tangible force. Dr. Maya Chen watched from the observation deck as another group attempted their first projection exercises. Below, Sarah Mitchell, a teacher from Manchester, closed her eyes and focused on memories of her daughter. The child had succumbed to the cognitive plague last winter, her brilliant mind fading until she couldn't recognize her own mother. Sarah's grief manifested as rippling waves of blue energy that shattered reinforced training barriers 50 meters away. Incredible, Chen murmured, recording the energy readings. Her emotional output exceeds our theoretical maximums. Colonel David Park, the facility's military coordinator, stood beside her. We're seeing similar results globally. The stronger the emotional trauma, the more powerful the manifestation. It's as if human suffering has become weaponized. Chen nodded grimly. The krill triggered an evolutionary response they couldn't have predicted. By attacking our minds and families, they've given us the very ammunition we need to fight back. Alarm klaxons suddenly blared throughout the facility. Park's tablet lit up with urgent transmissions. Krill scout ships entering Earth's atmosphere. 12 vessels, heading for major population centers. Chen activated the center's defense protocols. Time to test our preparations. In the training area below, Sarah Mitchell opened her eyes as instructors shouted commands. The volunteers formed defensive circles, their combined emotional energy creating visible shields of multicolored light. When the first Krill attack drones appeared overhead, Sarah remembered her daughter's last coherent words. "I love you, Mommy." The memory unleashed a torrent of protective rage. Sarah's grief-fueled energy lance pierced 3 drones simultaneously, their crystalline structures shattering like glass. Around her, other awakened humans discovered their own capabilities. Marcus Rodriguez channeled his fury over his brother's suicide into concussive blasts. Lin Wei's determination to protect her surviving family created impenetrable force barriers. Above Earth's atmosphere, Commander Jake Mason floated in the combat bridge of the newly commissioned warship Defiance. The alien crystal in his shoulder pulsed with each thought, translating Krill communications in real time. Their main fleet holds position beyond Saturn, Mason reported to Admiral Rebecca Torres. "They're testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses." Torres studied the tactical displays. "Can you sense their strategy?" Mason closed his eyes, diving deep into the alien network. The Krill consciousness was vast, cold, calculating. Yet beneath their perfect logic, he detected something new. Uncertainty. Fear. "They don't understand what's happening to us," Mason said. "In their entire history, no species has developed countermeasures to their extinction protocol. We're an anomaly in their calculations." The ship's weapon systems hummed to life as awakened crew members took their positions. Unlike traditional armaments, these new weapons channeled human emotion through specially designed amplifiers. Grief became cutting beams. Rage transformed into devastating projectiles. Love generated protective shields that defied physics. When the first wave of Krill destroyers entered Earth's defensive perimeter, humanity's emotional arsenal proved devastatingly effective. Ships designed to withstand nuclear weapons crumbled under concentrated bursts of human feeling. The crystalline vessels literally couldn't process the chaotic energy patterns, their logical systems overloading and failing. Dr. Chen monitored the battle from her command center, analyzing data streams from thousands of awakened fighters. A pattern emerged that made her blood run cold. "Colonel Park," she called urgently, "look at these neural scans. The emotional projection is causing accelerated synaptic degradation." Park examined the data. "They're burning out their own neurons. The human brain wasn't designed to channel this much energy. We're winning battles, but at tremendous cost. If this continues, we'll have an army of burnt-out husks within weeks." As if to punctuate her words, reports flooded in of awakened fighters collapsing after prolonged emotional projection. Some recovered with rest. Others fell into permanent comas, their minds literally consumed by their own power. In space, Commander Mason sensed the Krill's strategic adjustment. They'd recognized humanity's double-edged sword and now planned to exploit it. Waves of smaller drones would force humans to exhaust themselves, leaving Earth defenseless when the main fleet arrived. "Admiral Torres," Mason called out, "they're switching to attrition tactics. We need a new approach." Torres considered their options. Dr. Chen mentioned something about emotional resonance networks. Multiple awakened working in synchronization. Mason nodded, understanding immediately. "Instead of individual projection, we create unified emotional fields. Spread the neural load across many minds." The order went out globally. Awakened humans began linking their consciousness, sharing the burden of emotional projection. In Beijing, Sarah Mitchell joined hands with her fellow volunteers, their grief and determination merging into a collective force far greater than its parts. The results were spectacular. City-sized shields materialized over population centers. Coordinated emotional strikes eliminated entire Krill squadrons. Most importantly, the shared load prevented individual burnout. But the Krill adapted quickly. Their next wave included specialized hunters designed to disrupt human emotional networks. These new enemies projected their own form of anti-emotion, a numbing field that severed the connections between awakened minds. Dr. Chen watched helplessly as defense networks collapsed across Asia. "They're learning too fast. Every advantage we gain, They counter within hours. Then inspiration struck. She opened a channel to Commander Mason. The crystal in your shoulder. It's not just receiving Krill communications. It's part of their network. What if we could reverse the flow? Mason understood immediately. Use their own network against them. Inject human emotion directly into their collective consciousness. The procedure was dangerous. Chen and her team worked frantically to modify their emotional projection technology, creating a focused transmitter that could interface with Mason's embedded crystal. The commander would become a living weapon, channeling humanity's combined emotional output directly into the Krill overmind. As the main Krill fleet began its final approach to Earth, Mason prepared for the most important mission of his life. Strapped into the modified projection chamber, he felt the collective emotions of millions of awakened humans flowing through him. Remember, Chen's voice crackled through the intercom. You're not just transmitting our power. You're showing them what it means to be human. Make them feel what they've tried to destroy. Mason closed his eyes and opened his mind to the torrent of human experience. Joy and sorrow, love and loss, hope and despair. The full spectrum of emotion that defined humanity surged through his consciousness. The crystal in his shoulder blazed with impossible light as he pushed these feelings into the Krill network. Across the solar system, Krill commanders recoiled as alien sensations flooded their ordered minds. For beings who had eliminated emotion eons ago, the experience was overwhelming. Their perfect logic fractured under the assault of chaotic human feelings. Some Krill ships simply shut down, their crews paralyzed by unfamiliar sensations. Others turned on each other as suppressed emotions resurged after millennia of dormancy. The vast fleet that had conquered 17 civilizations began to fragment. But the strain on Mason was enormous. Blood vessels burst in his eyes as he channeled more power than any human was meant to handle. In the control room, Chen watched his vital signs plummet. "Jake." Admiral Torres shouted over the comm. "Break the connection. You're killing yourself." Mason's response was weak but determined. "Not yet. Can feel them. Breaking. Just little more." Through the observation windows, they watched the impossible unfold. The mighty Krill dreadnoughts began to retreat, their formation dissolving into chaos. Some ships collided with each other. Others simply powered down and drifted. The empire that had seemed invincible was crumbling before their eyes. Finally, Mason severed the connection, collapsing in the projection chamber. Medical teams rushed to his aid as Chen analyzed the aftermath. The Krill fleet was in full retreat, but more importantly, their entire network showed signs of fundamental disruption. "We did it," Chen whispered, hardly believing the data. "They're not just retreating. Their whole civilization is experiencing an emotional awakening. We've infected them with humanity." As Earth's defenders celebrated their impossible victory, reports arrived of Krill colonies across the galaxy undergoing similar transformations. The emotion virus spread through their quantum network, awakening feelings that had been suppressed for millennia. The war wasn't over. Chen knew that. But humanity had proven something unprecedented. That emotion wasn't weakness. It was power. It was evolution. It was the key to not just survival, but transformation. In Medical Bay, Commander Mason regained consciousness to find Admiral Torres at his bedside. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. Torres smiled, tears in her eyes. "We did more than win, Commander. We've started a revolution that will reshape the galaxy." Outside, the first reports arrived of Krill ships requesting asylum, their crews desperate to understand the new feelings coursing through them. The empire of logic was falling, and in its place, something new was being born. The Age of Awakening had truly begun.